The Penn State Nittany Lions travel to Columbus, Ohio to play against the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State stands at 7-0, 4-0 in Big Ten Conference play. Penn State's 3-4 with a gnarly 0-4 record in Big Ten Conference play. Ohio State's favored by 20.5 points. This is a noon game, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Big noon kickoff. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt will be there and will be calling this game. I thought this was going to be potentially the game of the century earlier this year. And before I continue, liking the video, watching the video all the way through, and commenting your thoughts down below are the best ways to support the channel, as they help push me into the algorithm, help me to receive a larger paycheck that I can use to reinvest in producing elite analysis for you all. Subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, sharing the video around, and supporting us in other ways that you can find out via the description are other awesome ways to support our operation at College Football with Sam. We are becoming the best. We want to be the best. Thank you all for making that possible. Possibly in the preseason. Wow. How the mighty, or thought to be mighty in the case of Penn State, have fallen. This team in Penn State, little bit of a rant here, ruined much of the Big Ten November slate. I thought we were going to get Indiana and Penn State, and that would be a big game. Ohio State and Penn State could be a big game. Iowa, Penn State, thought would be a bigger game than it was. And it was close and it was entertaining, but didn't have the same stakes. What about Michigan State hosting Penn State off a bye? Maybe they could attempt an upset. No. And that really affected a lot of games in a very negative way, by Penn State being pretty terrible, and none of the teams that were supposed to be terrible stepped up and were really good. Really, Penn State subtracted itself from the top tier of the Big Ten, and no one filled that void. No other team at the top of the preseason hierarchy, at least as I saw it, has done much differently than what I thought they were going to. Minus, to a certain degree, Indiana. Indiana was a little bit better than I thought they would be. Man, Indiana, Ohio State, number 1, number 2 team in all of America. Top 2 in odds to win it all. Top 2 in FPI. Top 2 in S&P Plus. But let's get to this game. So, Penn State being a massive underdog means that there's going to have to be a lot to go their way if they are going to win, let alone compete. They dominated their weak non-conference slate, and every loss since then has been a loss by 6 points or fewer. Close loss after close loss after close loss. This team, power ratings-wise, is similar to 2021 Nebraska, where a bunch of close losses to teams irrespective of their power rating and competition level, and you blow out the weak. That is what Penn State has been through 7 games. And their remaining schedule, got to play at Ohio State, got to return home to play Indiana, play Michigan State on the road, host Nebraska, play at Rutgers. Very good chance this team could go 3-9. There is also a decent enough chance that they could maybe go to a bowl game at 6-6. I think that's only if they survive Ohio State and Indiana and beat Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers. So starting off 3-0, you're 3-6 entering your final 3 games, and you finish off 3-0. Would be pretty interesting, pretty comical, hilarious. In order for them to win this game, a lot is to go their way, and we'll get to that. For Ohio State, number 1 in America ranked. They're 7-0. They're coming off a shutout 34-0 win over Wisconsin. Both teams are coming off a bye, by the way. After Penn State, a trip, a weird kickoff at 1 p.m. Eastern Time at Purdue. They got to host UCLA, host Rutgers, then travel to Michigan. Michigan, you wouldn't know it by their ranking, but they, from a power ratings plus home field advantage and plus rivalry aspect, will probably be Ohio State's toughest test of the year by a decent margin. So that is, it's known as the game, the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan. but it is going to also literally, in the sense of the defining game of the regular season, from one top program in Ohio State, currently the best program in America, to the best team on their schedule. It will literally be the game of their schedule. That was thought to be Texas or Penn State from a competitive angle. It's not. Texas is a 5-2 team. Well, actually, I think 6-2 now, but maybe 5-2, that has almost lost 2 additional games, and Penn State's 3-4. So this schedule has been pretty beneficial, pretty easy for Ohio State. We'll see what happens, but I would expect them to enter that Michigan game 11-0 based on what we know right now, and they'll be favored over Michigan. They will not be an underdog in any of the remaining regular season games, barring something outer worldly and probably like spiritual or something crazy to happen. Looking at the key players and the numbers for this game, and how, if there is a path at all for Penn State to be able to come out on top here. Penn State's defense has really, really struggled against the run. More importantly, against offenses where the quarterback is involved in the rushing attack. So Mark Gronowski tore them up on the ground. Nico Iamaleava tore them up on the ground. They did not have a good or fun time trying to get Dante Moore down in the backfield. Their pass rush isn't great. Their ability to QB spy, to slow down the QB run, isn't great. I wonder if Ohio State, since Sayin showed against Wisconsin on one play that he can run the read option, probably more of a, in case of emergency, break glass type play, but they can do it. So I wonder if you'll see that in this game, or people have talked about the Lincoln Keenholz packages before. I don't think that's even worth to implement, because are you going to trust him to throw as much as you do Sayin? Is he even that much better of a runner than Sayin is, because he's shown some underrated speed in the pocket and on that read option? I don't know what Ohio State's going to do there, but Penn State hasn't exactly struggled to the same degree against rushing offenses that do not involve QB run as much. So Oregon, at the end of the day, was able to physically pound them on the ground, but that was in part due to Penn State not having any offense, and their defense was always on the field. They didn't do as poorly of a job against Oregon or against Northwestern's ground game as they did against Iowa and UCLA's, because their quarterback is directly involved in the ground game and can pick up big plays, because they either don't QB spy or they do, and their linebackers without Rojas are pretty bad at it. So that's an interesting matchup there. If Penn State is able to stall Ohio State's rushing attack, and Ohio State wants to stubbornly run, as they've shown in really all of their games but the Wisconsin game, then Penn State should be able to get off the field here and there, and it comes down to whether or not their offense can move the football at all against Ohio State's defense. A defense that is first in points allowed per play, only allowing 0.113 points per play. That is not something I'm going to talk about much, because that is going to be a prove-it moment for Penn State's offense. There's nothing in theory or on paper that says Penn State should score more than a field goal or 10 points at most. Maybe because they have good special teams, they can get lucky and force a turnover, or they can, hit a pretty long field goal with Barker. I don't know, but there's a more realistic shot that Penn State gets shut out than they score 3 times. There is that possibility that Ohio State wins this game 30-0 or even 40-0. There's a chance at that. So if Penn State is going to compete here, or if Ohio State is going to play with its food and allow Penn State to be in this game, it will be the Ohio State offense versus the Penn State defense. Because this Penn State offense without Drew Aller, with Ethan Grunkmeyer at quarterback, unless their offensive line shows up and they're able to run it 20 times in a row with Katron Allen and Singleton's able to step up, and they're able to do that even with Ohio State knowing they're going to run, then they're not going to score points here. Looking at Penn State, I'd pay attention to Katron Allen and then Olivega Ione and Drew Shelton, their 2 highest graded offensive linemen. Ione is a future NFL guard. Shelton could be a future NFL tackle. Penn State's offensive line, I don't think is the problem. It's not the unit I thought it was going to be preseason, where I viewed it as a Joe Moore Award unit. It's not, but it's also not the problem. The problem is the receivers haven't panned out the way Penn State wanted to. I don't think Kotelnicki did a great job utilizing the talent on this offense and adjusting his scheme to it, and the quarterback injury is also pretty bad. And Singleton has not been good this year. Defensively, Denida Sutton at D-end is their best player on the defensive front, along with Amari Campbell, and then King Mack and Zakee Wheatley at safety should do a pretty good job. I expect Jim Knowles in this game to play 2 high safety against Ohio State, where traditionally Penn State's played 1 high safety, I believe, against Ohio State. So that should help limit some of the previous advantages that Ohio State's offense has had over Penn State's defense in regards to pass offense versus pass defense. Ohio State, meanwhile, pay attention to Julian Sayin at quarterback, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. Look at the running backs, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson. I wonder if Ohio State will be able to run here or not. I wonder if they'll even need to run to cover the spread against Penn State, because their passing offense is that effective. And then defensively, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and then defensive tackle Caden McDonald. Pay attention to them. This Ohio State team should have a big day. I would expect them to win. I'm going to predict them to win. This is not the Penn State team I thought it would be preseason. Ohio State is maybe a little bit better than I thought they'd be preseason. About the same team, better defensively, similar offensively, but a little bit more inconsistent. And special teams is actually worse. I thought with the addition of Jackson Corville, they'd be better there, but Corville isn't even their starting kicker. He isn't. Jaden Fielding is still the starting kicker. Ohio State will win. I'm confident in that. But 20.5 is a pretty big number considering Ohio State's style of play, where they want to limit possessions. This game has kind of a personal feeling to it between Ryan Day and Jim Knowles. I believe that Day will want to run up the score, and will he be able to? That's a different question, but I'm hedging a little bit. Given how I think the Ohio State staff wants to win this game and how Penn State is talented enough to not totally lay down and die, I feel as if Ohio State is either going to win this game by 50 or this game will be a 1-score game in the fourth quarter and Ohio State fans will want half the staff fired. So I'm hedging in between that. It won't be a close game in the fourth quarter, but it also won't be a 40-point win. So I'm hedging in between what I think are the 2 most likely outcomes. I'm picking Ohio State to win probably by 14 or 17 points is what I'm thinking. 20.5 is just a bit too big of a number, but Ohio State will win. They'll clearly be the better team from the minute the ball's kicked off. They match up well, I think, in every way with Penn State, minus maybe Penn State's rushing defense, because they won't want to run Sayin, I don't think. And whether it's Ohio State's backs or the offensive line being, a good, great unit overall, but their specialties in pass blocking, they're not bad at run blocking, but they're not good there either. I think that Penn State will limit them on the ground. Ohio State will also limit Penn State on the ground. What's going to win is that Ohio State's just so much more talented. They're better coached. They're at home. And that quarterback and wide receiver duo is unstoppable unless you have offense to score here and there on Patricia's epic defense. That's my opinion on this game. That's my take. Ohio State wins and covers. This game doesn't impact the Big Ten standings all that much unless Penn State does the absolute unthinkable and wins. Penn State's one of the few teams that does not have yet a win in Big Ten play. Meanwhile, Ohio State is undefeated in Big Ten play. Ohio State will win and cover, moving on to 8-0. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure, if you haven't already, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment your analysis and thoughts down below so I can reciprocate my thoughts with you in the comment section, and check out anything on these end screens that are up here, whether it's a recommended video or playlists for teams that I'm talking about in a preview, prediction, or a reaction. Make sure to hit the notification bell on those, scroll through them, and watch any suggested videos if you are interested. Thank you for helping college football with Sam become the best and the biggest college football brand and channel on YouTube and other social media platforms. We will reach that one day because of your support.